can't show up, they get to see what's happening. All right, everyone, this is Russell, and I will let him take the floor.
Wow, that's amazing. Danny, how much time are we looking at?
Let's say we can do around 30 minutes. See how you feel. You can do less than that or more.
Okay.
I'm just all about giving the people as much value as possible. So if like whatever you're saying it's really a lot of value, I'm not going to stop you from talking. Okay. Because I would rather hold on to that value and be able to share it with everyone in the community.
That's all. That's amazing. Well, thank you, Danny, for the opportunity, and thank you guys for coming on today and being a part of this. I'll share a little bit about my story, and then, when we get, to the latter half of our time here, I'll open it up for you, questions you might have. I have one of my books right here, so I can, hold it up and give you some ideas. I know, Ellie, you're driving, but I understand that you're creating a book right now. So, I can talk about the process. I can answer questions about the process, kind of what I'm doing, where I'm going, and these kinds of things. But I hope that it'll be inspiring. It'll be encouraging, and to share with you a lot about, who I am as a person and who I am as far as like what I'm trying to accomplish in life. I'm 57. So, my pivot became, a little bit later in years, and I'll share about that. But my name is Russ Rogers, and I am a landscaper, but I'm also an author. And it has been quite the ride in the last 2 years. And I'm excited to share a little bit about this. But I am a thoroughbred of California. I am through and through. I was born in the Central Valley, raised in the Central Valley, went to school in Southern California, went to Cal Poly Pomona. There I was raised kind of like a little farm. So a lot of my history, a lot of my upbringing was about outside. I was, around chickens. I was around cows. I was around horses. And so a lot of my upbringing was in the outdoors. And then I went in played Little League at age 7 and never stopped. And then ended up going to high school, playing football, playing basketball, playing baseball, went on to pursue a collegiate career in baseball. And so did that for 4 years. And then my goal, my aspiration as a young baseball player was to, eventually hopefully play professional baseball. But I had an elbow injury. And so back in 85, or 89, I went to school and college from 85 to 89. And so that injury, the surgeries back then aren't what they are today. So I decided to hang them up and move on with life. Ended up getting married. We ended up having 3 children. I have 2 girls, 36, 31, and a son who's 28. I have, for those that were on the call early, I have 5 grandbabies. I've got 3 in Connecticut. I've got 2 that are here in California, just 10 minutes away from me, that are 2 girls. And so they are the pride and joy of my life, with my children. And so they are an amazing blessing. But I spent a couple of years working at an orphanage down in Mexico. I spent 6 years as a youth pastor working with children. So you can see, like, a lot of my upbringing, a lot of my adult life was about working with children. So when I was working at the orphanage, I raised money for the orphanage. I lived with my family in Mexico on the grounds of the orphanage. But it was during those times that, I would spend time coming over to San Diego, and I had this little tiny hole in the wall office, and I would make calls all day trying to get out and get speaking engagements to raise money, and to also to get groups to come down to Mexico and help us build. So being around kids, being outdoors, this was our life. And our lives as parents was to raise our kids outside. And so what the same type of upbringing that I had, I wanted to reciprocate with my kids and do the same thing to make sure they're involved in some type of sport, some type of activity, being outside and enjoying the outdoors. And we live close to the coast. I mean, I live right now, very close to the coast. So it was really important part of my life. And so when we finished the orphanage, I moved back in with my parents for 3 years. I don't know if you've ever done that as an adult, but it's kind of interesting. So we did that for about 3 months. And then I got a call to work at a college. And so it was Bethany University in Scotts Valley, which is not far from here. Served as a softball coach and also served as a development director, raising money. So raised money for the school, worked with kids. And it was during that time of coaching in the community that I had parents and kids that would come up to me and they would say, hey, could you help my child, you know, get, basically the bottom line is get better at the game of baseball or softball. So I did this, and I ended up turning it into a little side business as a side business of coaching. And then this spanned over 20 years. So my time at the college was 8 years, but then doing this personal training spanned for another 20. So, you know, it was really an amazing time of my life to be able to invest in kids' lives one-on-one. So I would work with these kids. They would come. A lot of them, you know, had, you know, really kind of the mindset of becoming better. They, you know, they had the block of, well, I'm just not that good of an athlete, or I can't do this kind of personality, right? I can't make this happen. Or it was a parent that was pushing their kids to like, I want them to just get better, right? And it really was not only just about physically getting better, but mentally getting better and really building in them the confidence to become a better athlete. So I did this for 20 years. And then this thing happened worldwide in 2020 called COVID. And it was then 2020 that the parks closed, the schools closed. So my training shut down. And so I basically said, you know, as I step away from this and evaluate, it's like, I think I'm going to take the time to look at things at the bigger picture. I still have my landscaping business that I started 20 years earlier. And I just said to myself, you know, there's got to be something else. But I just, for that year, I focused on landscaping. I bought this journal. And here's where the real story begins. I bought this journal and I carried this journal everywhere I went for 1 year. And I had it in my backpack. I didn't write anything in it. And I was on a flight to New York City. During this flight, all of a sudden, boom, it just hit me. And I opened this journal and I wrote the word move. And when I wrote the word move, I drew a little rectangular box around it. And then the stories, past experiences, things that happened in my life, things that happened with my training, things that I've seen. I mean, it was just a flood of stories that came in. I was just writing pages upon pages, you know, going through this journal. And over the next several months, I continued to write, but I had no idea what was going to transpire. And so over the next several months, I started going through here and I was just like, what is this all about? I had no idea. I wasn't aspiring to be an author. I had no idea these words and these pages were going to turn into books. But then as I began to process this, I was like, you know, I've got something here. And I started dissecting it and I told nobody what I was doing. My family didn't know. My friends didn't know. Nobody. I just kept it to myself. And here is the unique part about this story. You know, there are people that come into your life, and I don't believe it's by accident. And I was on the beach about 8 years ago, and I was hanging out with my friends, and it was a beautiful sunny day, about 15 of us there. And this lady came over late in the day, and she had been sitting there for quite some time. And she came over and she goes, you know, I want to introduce myself. My name is Sue. And you guys just seem to have such a great time together. And, you know, do you mind if I hang out with you? And we're like, no, come on. So she had just moved here from Florida. So then we introduced Sue to everybody. And years and years later, hanging out with Sue, she ends up getting married. She has a birthday party. She ends up moving across the street from me. And so I go to this birthday party and she introduces me to this lady named Indiana. Indiana, guess what? Has a publishing company. She had also authored a book herself. And so here it was 8 years prior that I meet Sue. Now we come forward 6 years and I meet this lady named Indiana. She is a publisher. We had coffee a week later. I showed her everything in this journal I had. And she goes, Russ, you have some books here. She goes, you could write a book or you could write multiple books, depending on what you want to do. So I loved our connection. We are best friends now. And we ended up taking all of this information and putting it into 5 books. And those 5 books ended up getting published and we had the opening launch in June of 2023. There are 5 paperbacks in all. And then a year later, in June of 24, last year, I took those 5 books and paperback books, and I put them into one book. And this is my book right now. And this is 5 books in one, all 5 books, called Move Today. The title is Today Here. And the beauty of this thing is that the paperback books, which are in simple form, we enlarged it, put it into hardback, and then at the bottom of each page, which I'll show you right now, are suggested activities to this page. So this particular book said, today, my parents and I chased the ocean waves. Can you guys see that? And then over here at the bottom of the page, there are 3 suggested activities with little check boxes here on the inside. They can date it, they can check mark it, they can put a sticker, they can whatever the families want to do. But in this 5-book series, there are about 120 suggested activities that kids can do with their families. And the whole purpose of this book is to encourage families to get outside and do activities together with their family. And the beautiful thing was, I was just recently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, sharing with about 800 kids. Well, because of the weather, which is similar to what Danny is facing right now, it was -7 degrees in Pittsburgh, so there were no classes. So I ended up doing some virtual classes with some of the schools. So I'm sitting in my hotel room in this one school that they had 6th and 7th graders that came together. And so one of the questions is how long did it take for you to write these books? And I said, well, book number 1 took the absolute longest because we basically created something out of nothing. We just taken the notes and putting it into actions, right? And so it took about 8 months to do book number 1. And then after that, it was about a month and a half on each book after that. So one of the kids said, well, did your hand get tired of writing? Because I told her 8 months, right? I told him 8 months. And she goes, did your hand ever get tired of writing? And I go, no, I took breaks, And she's like, well, did you ever sleep during these 8 months? I'm like, yes, of course I slept. It wasn't an 8-month continuation, But, there was another kid, and this was the beauty of it. When you think and you ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And what is the meaning and what is the connection? I had this 6th grade girl. She after I got done talking for about 25 minutes, I opened up for questions. And she said this. She said, I don't have a question, but I have a statement. I said, okay, go ahead, share. And she said, you got me to thinking, because when you think about the message of this book, and I really kind of curtailed my message to 6th and 7th graders. And really the message is this: if we pause from cell phones, if we pause from video games, we pause from TV, we pause from our tablets and our computers. And when I asked the question to kids in this gymnasium a day after, and I said, on average, how much time do you guys spend on these video tablets, computers? If you took all of that into each day, what do you think it averaged? And it averaged anywhere from 3 to 6 hours per day that these kids were on those devices. And when you think about the message of today, it's about encouraging families to get outside and do activities together. And so this 6th grader said to me, she said, you got me to thinking today, after what you said, that if I work on myself and I become a better person, then I can help make those people that are around me better people. And I just thought, how beautiful was that stated by a 6th grader who connected with the message. And you never know what your book, what your words, what that is going to entail and how it's going to impact people, whether it's 1, whether it's 100, or whether it's thousands. Is our message. We all of us that are here in this meeting today, all of us have a message. We have a story to tell. All of your stories are different than my story, but the story that's in your heart, that's the story that you need to convey to other people, whether it's in a book form, whether it's in poetry, whether it's speaking, whether you're an educator, whatever it may be. You have the opportunity to take the message that is within you, the story, whether your story is 30 years old, whether it's 40 or 50 years old, whatever it may be. you have a story to tell. Maybe you've gone through a sickness and you're well now and you have a story to tell through that. Maybe it was your childhood that you went through and you had some hardships, maybe with your parents or non-parents. Maybe it was your siblings, whatever it may be, or maybe you were bullied in school, right? All of these are stories that you can go through and you begin to write, and you go back to when you were, born to now, and you write that story out and you say, these are prominent points in my life that I can convey. And maybe I can take that message and share with other people to encourage them, whether it's children, whether it's adults, whatever it may be. Your story can impact other people. And so when I'm out and I'm conveying my message and I'm sharing my books and I'm able to give, I want to give of my time. Because why? Because it's a valuable. You may never come in contact. You're probably not going to come in contact with 99.99% of the people that pick up your book or hear your message, but it's impacting other people. And that's the beauty of it, because the message is to be seen and the message is to be heard. And my message that I go out and that I share with people is, it's important for us to take this message and to share it with others, because we all want to impact a life no matter what we're doing in this age. We only have so much time. And we all have 24 hours a day. So what are we going to do with our day? What are we going to do with our time? And how are we going to invest in ourselves? And that's what I tell people who are like you, is like, make sure that your tank is full. Make sure your car, your life is full of electricity or gasoline, so that you can do what? You can share your message with other people. So you're constantly filling yourself up, reading books, listening to podcasts, listening to other speakers, getting full, so that you can go out and share your story. You could take these related things and to give to other people. And that's what I'm about. And that's what Move Today 365 is about. And not only is it about books, but in October of 23, somebody had said, why don't you take an idea out of the book and put it into real life action? So we did. We started walks called Community Strides. And Community Strides is about encouraging families one time a month on the second Saturday to get out and to move. And so we just had it last Saturday. We have 26 states, 7 countries represented, where on the second Saturday of every month, we get out and we walk 2 miles. So in your community, you invite friends, you invite families, you invite community, and you say, we're going to get together and we're going to get out and we're going to walk. And we're going to represent Community Strides, but we're going to represent ourselves to get healthy and try to encourage other people to the exact same thing. Because why? We were not created to be alone. We were not created for isolation. We were meant to be connected. We were meant to be with other people. And so I encourage you, if you want to join Move Today 365 and Community Strides, it's absolutely free. It's just, you get out on the second Saturday and you encourage people in your community to meet at whatever time you desire and create a movement of walking on the second Saturday of every month. Not only that, but I have a monthly challenge, which is February this month, of walking 1 mile every day, 50 jumping jacks, and 5 minutes of stretching. And it's a challenge to get out every single day, like Danny, and to get out and to move our bodies. And so that is really important, because we're going to live this life, and we want to live this life, whatever given time that we have, to be the healthiest that we can be of ourselves, because we want to live our life of longevity, but we want to live a healthy longevity. And so we want to do this by getting out and moving our bodies. So it's not only, physical exercise, but it's mental exercise, because when I go out and do a walk every day, and I'm out there, I'm breathing in this fresh air. And what is it doing? It's not only helping me physically and helping my cardiovascular, but it's helping me mentally to get out and to have clarity of mind and being productive in my day, and really being, bringing down any levels of anxiety or depression or whatever people are dealing with. Right. And so this is also a part of what we're doing and getting the word out. And then a buddy of mine and I just started a podcast called Dual Coast Podcast. He's on the East Coast in New York City. I'm on the West Coast, dual coast, and it's all about mental and physical wellness. So we're doing these things to spread the word. And so we had our live podcast this morning, and it's on all the media channels, social media channels that are out there. And So if you're interested in podcasts, you can listen to us. We had a great guy on there this morning, Chris Michael Rushing, former Marine, has 2 daughters, 6 and 8, telling his story today and on mental and physical wellness. And it's a beautiful thing. And so my story to you is this: take what you have, take the story that you have, and see what you can do to impact lives of other people. And if it's only one person, then it's worth it. It's worth it. And take whatever you have and give to others. Share with others. Write books. Share stories. Do poetry. Write music. Whatever it may be. Or you're teaching kids. Tell them and show them the way of what it is, the importance of being outside, connecting with nature, getting the vitamin D that we need, and spending time with family outdoors, impacting lives each and every day. So that is my story. I would love to open it up for any questions that you may have. Yeah, love to answer. How many words for each story? Is that what that said? I only caught the very...
Here, I'll read it to you.
Okay.
She says, how many words for each story, and how do you market for a 7th grade picture book?
That's really good. So in here, and are you talking about my books as far as how many words in each of the pages? So the thing about it is, mine are big words, because it's really meant for kids that are basically from birth to 5 years of age. But these are great for first-time readers. So basically kindergarten, first, maybe 2nd grade. So on average, you can see here. Can you see that right there? That's basically a page right there. And so every page basically resembles that. And then over here, you've got the suggested activities at the bottom. So, today my parents and I jumped on the trampoline. Today, my parents and I played in the garden. Today, my parents and I splashed in the pool. These are very simple, clear message, because the message of my books is all about today, which are the name of the books. So the message is very, very clear, but the words, are big and easy. And then the thing about it is, for kids that are learning how to read, is having a lot of the same words that they can recognize by sight. So a lot of these words are repeatable in my books. And what was the second part of the question? 7th grader?
Yeah, here, let me pull it up again.
Okay.
She says, how do you market for a 7th grade picture book?
So, as far as a 7th grade picture book, the way that I market is there's a guy that I use, PR from the Heart. He's in San Diego, and he and I connected, John Massalonis. He and I connected, and he does a lot of the marketing for me. So you can market it. A lot is on social media. I mean, that's huge. And a lot of people don't like to be in front of the cameras, and that can be a challenge. And so it's learning to overcome yourself to promote what you want to promote. So using stories, using reels, these are great way to just start to getting the word out there. Then going to your local schools or your school district, connecting with them, and to see if you can get in your local schools, because that's free, but you can also charge. Public schools have so much money that they can give, and so you could actually charge to go there and to speak to schools. So marketing through your schools is very, very big. You can have flyers. I have stickers. I have wristbands. So these are things that I give away to kids. So I'm marketing as I go, as I have my books and I share my message. But these are little giveaways that I give away to the kids as a reminder to them about Move Today 365 and the importance of it.
Anyone else have any questions for him?
I just want to say that I love how you connected your story with just writing it and, seeing how this can help anyone. And I could hear a lot of passion in it, and I loved it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. And how do you say Edita?
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that, Edita. It really means a lot. Seriously, it really does.
Yeah, I appreciate what you did here, and yeah, I also appreciated I was able to hear about it. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. The other thing too, if you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Move Today 365. If you're on Facebook, Russell Rogers, you'll see, all of that on there. And then, these are just ways that you can promote anything that you're doing in your message. And if you just have something to say, maybe you don't even have a product, or maybe it's your business. Maybe it's something you want to start, but social media is a great way. I personally, right now, my Dual Coast podcast with Dan, it is on TikTok, but there's just so much. I'm on LinkedIn as well. It's a lot of work. So when you start doing this, just let yourself know it takes time and energy and effort to do all this stuff. There's still just so much to learn and so much to do. And it is time consuming. So, but take advantage of it, because people are on there. People will follow you. People will hear you. And it's not all about the likes. It's about your message. Remember that. It's about your message. So thank you, Adita, for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
And then I just wanted to mention as well that you can start promoting your book even before it's a real thing. Like when you're just thinking about it or whatever, like make stories about it, do a live. There's so many ways to promote it, because what you're wanting to do is get people interested before it's a real thing. So then when you finally do have the book and you talk about it, people are like, oh yeah, I've been wanting to get that book when it came out because she's been talking about it for ages, or I seen how much struggling she went through to make it a real, actual, genuine thing. And so like people really like to be on the journey with you as you're going through it and facing it all. And like, it doesn't have to be always your face. It just helps when it's that, because then they can relate when they see a person behind just words on a post or something like that. So that's why it's good, because it's like, you want them to genuinely see you, and it's good to bring out your authentic self out there. And like how Russell mentioned, talk from the heart, like write from the heart. And I truly back that up, like 100%. And I think Ellie was wanting to say something, so okay. I'll give it to her. Or maybe you can't talk right now. Okay, Ellie, I understand if you can't.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say that thank you for your message, because I have written my children's books, and we actually have a similar background, because the message of my book is on nature and God, and I actually grew up in Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah, so I grew up in nature and stuff, and the message behind it is how you can find God in nature. And so I've actually finished it, and I've given it to a few people, and it's like someone actually started crying because they felt moved by it.
Yes.
But I'm at the point where I'm just kind of like editing it, and then I want to illustrate it, because someone gave me a big push for illustration, which is kind of like why I'm writing the book.
Yes.
But I guess there's blocks, because I go and I see all these pictures of illustrations. I'm like, I don't know if I could do this, but your message is motivating, because at the end of the day, it is just kind of about getting it out there and using your time wisely.
Absolutely. If you need some guidance, it's up to you if you want to hire them. But Nindy Design Publishing, who did my work, that's here in Northern California, she is fabulous. The illustrator lives in Mexico, Nancy Diaz, and she is amazing. She did all of the artistic work, and you know what? Honestly, let me share with you guys. When I was starting to put this book together, the small version books, they're 8x8, the paperback. Indiana had said to me, she said, what I want you to do is I want you to get the pieces of paper and create an 8.5 by 8.5 book. Okay. Blank canvas. And I want you to take pictures of, if it's your own personal pictures that you have from your family, from your background, or if you find them online and you find something that's relatable to what you have in your mind. So when I had written out all the pages of the book, I knew from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, I had all the books all lined up. And then I took book one from infancy to one, and I began to go back and dig into my files of pictures when my kids were young, or pictures maybe I've taken, or I found them on the web. But I had an idea on each one of these, what I wanted the image to be, right? And so when I formulated all that, I printed them all out and I put them in here in this book, right? And then I basically gave the book to Indiana. I said, all right, here it is. Now we're going to create this into something. And that was the beginning. And now this is the end. This is the finished product. And so Nancy took my ideas. We had Zoom call for weeks and weeks and weeks, because I would say, you know, hey, the 8-month-old picture right here of the baby sitting on the sand, his head is too large. It looks like a bowling ball. Like, we need to shrink his head down just a little bit to fit the size of his body. And I didn't like the wave of the dad's hair on the surfboard. I didn't like the umbrella. So it's what you have and conveying that message. And it's a lot of work for illustrating. So Ellie, I encourage you, if you want to message me, DM me on Move Today 365, we can convey. I can put you in contact. At least it doesn't cost you anything to brainstorm and to really advance your ideas of your book that you already have, or anybody else that might be working on a book. But this is kind of how the picturesque part of my books came to fruition. And then going off of what you said, I have 2 books that are coming out this year. One is kind of a manuscript of the why. This is the fun version. This is the picturesque version of my books. The manuscript that I have is the why you need to be doing this, why you need to be going out, why you need to look at the leaves and discover all of this intricate part of the leaves of trees, or the bugs that are down into the dirt, and why we need to dig into the mud, and why we need to stand in the rain and let the rain fall on us. You know, it's all of the why of why it's important to connect with nature and outside. So I appreciate that, Ellie. Thank you so much. I hope that helps you.
Yes, that helps. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice. Do you have any other questions?
I have one loosely connected with either creating a book and creating a content about yourself, like showing yourself and your work. And I have, like, from my own experience, I have this, I've observed that, you know, I have, like, I'm not all the way out with my authenticity, because I just don't want to overwhelm people sometimes. But when I share more out of, you know, the depth of my personality, how I perceive the world, and how I think, basically, I kind of feel like I see that this content and this kind of message immediately gets less attention, or people are more hesitant to engage with it. I'm not sure if I should make anything out of it, or should I, maybe the question is, should I always put some filter on myself after, you know, while still being authentic, like, you know, filter that through something, or just keep doing my thing and people will find me, the right people will find me?
Be authentic.
Yep.
Adita, yeah, go
I
ahead.
would say number 2 that you said. No, I'll let you take it, Russell.
No, authenticity says so much, because people are going to draw to Adita because she is authentic, right? And when you convey yourself and your heart and your message and your story of who you are, you share that connects with people. You're not going to connect with everybody, right? Everybody's different, but you are going to connect with people in general. Because why? Because you're authentic and you're really portraying who you are. And this is my message. This is who I am. This is Adita. You're getting my authentic me. And so take that and empower people through your authenticity. I think it's beautiful.
Okay, got it. So I'll just do me.
Do you?
Yeah, and then
Thanks, Russ.
I just wanted to add to that you know, at first, especially when you're not used to being your true self, you might feel like lost or like unsure or thinking of other people judging you. But you just have to remember that if you feel good with the way that you're acting and it feels true and like it feels from the heart, then that is what you should keep doing. Because if that's what you're passionate about or that's how you feel towards it, then that's your true self. And I mean, us as humans, we have so many layers that we put on ourselves because like we're like, oh, my parents want me to be this certain way, or social norms are this way, or this or that or this. So you get all these layers put on you through the years, and then finally someone tells you, oh, be authentic. You're like, what is that?
Yes,
I
exactly.
don't even know anymore. I don't even know what that looks like.
I feel like my authentic self is a bit weird, a bit, crazy sometimes. At the same time, it's very like oriented into sorry, my English is not working today. So I'm for example very goal oriented and specific in the way of accomplishing things, and I know it's not really what others do, at least not what I've seen.
Yes.
And people are surprised, and they are just, I guess, stepping away and observing, I guess. So I'm just always a bit taken away by that response, may I say. So yeah, just a feeling.
Yeah. So
weird.
there's a thing that called New Year's resolutions. Everybody knows what a New Year's resolution is, right? Do you know that most people stop those New Year's resolutions in the first 6 weeks?
Oh yeah, for sure.
In the first 6 weeks. I was at a coffee shop and I was purposely going there in December of 2022. When I went there, I was going to meet Craig Siegel, and Craig asked me in that 45-minute meeting, he said, Russ, what is your word for 2023? In that split second, I was like, I don't have a word, right? But then all of a sudden it just hit me, intentional, Craig. Intentional is my word. And people that struggle with, like, let's say procrastination, right, is you put things off, right? And when I said that word intentional, it gave a whole new meaning on everything that I do. And so when I wake up in the morning, all through 2023, I said to myself, what am I going to be intentional about today? And I'm telling you, it changed everything. And do you know what my word is for 2024? My word is certainty, Adita. It's certainty. And you know why it's certainty? Because where there is certainty, there is no room for doubt. You understand?
I see, right? That.
And the connection with what you just said to me, I wanted to relate that going back to 2022, because New Year's resolutions, I probably did that twice in my life. And I was one of those people who basically quit in the first 6 weeks. So I'm one of those stats, right? And so, but then I just quit doing it. I just said, screw it, I'm not doing it anymore. But then when I was asked that question, I was loud. Now for the rest of my life, I will have a word that is going to connect with me. In fact, my buddy's word on my podcast, in our podcast together, his is connectivity, connecting with people, right? And so, people have all different kinds of words, but I felt like my word was meaningful for you right now, certainty. And because when you're certain, there is no room for doubt, whether it's in decision making or you're doubting yourself, you're doubting your message, who's going to listen? Nobody likes the way that I look. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's your message. So be certain, Adita, in your message, in your story, in what you're doing, in your business, in your life. Be certain about it, because it's going to impact people. And through that, as you're being authentic, you're being your true self, and people are going to connect with you.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Love that. And and maybe somebody else has another question, but I want to backtrack too. Prior to that, I was in New York City, and in New York City, I was going to a concert in Madison Square Garden, and I had about a 10-block walk, and I just wanted to walk the streets of New York. So I did. It was a cold night, and I bundled up, and I was going to the Madison Square Garden. And when I did, I passed this Italian restaurant, hole in the wall, and it was very narrow, but it went deep. And I said, noted, I'm going to go to dinner there. The next night, I walked back, which was about halfway to Madison Square Garden. I walked back there. When I walked in, every table was full. Every table was full. There was a bar that ran from front to back, and there was one seat available, and it was at the very front. I'm not a drinker, but I was wanting to have a good dinner. So I sat in that solo seat. At the other end, all of a sudden, a seat opened up, and in walked this beautiful lady 10 or 15 minutes after I got there. And I was like, she was stunning. She was gorgeous. And she sat down next to this gentleman. They started having dialogue. So I thought they were connected. So I'm having a great time with the bartender. We're telling stories. He's telling me stories about his life. And at the end of the night, the restaurant closed at 9 p.m. At about 8:50, he came up to me and he said, "You know what? You need to connect with the lady at the other end of the bar. She is an author." So he introduced us at the end of the night. We ended up going to another bar 2 doors over, and it was full of these 30-something-year-olds, packed house. We sat right in front of the musician who was a guitarist. We literally had to yell because the musician was 10 feet in front of us, right? And so we ended up having this dialogue, and it was an amazing connectivity and connection. And so we connected, we exchanged numbers, we stayed in contact. She introduced me to several other ladies. We ended up having Zoom calls over the next coming months. One of the ladies who she connected me with, her name was Renee. And I woke up to a text message in July of 2022. 2023, last year, or 2 years ago. I'm all confused. In 2023, and I woke up to this message from Renee saying, I hate to give you this bad news, but Tarifa, the lady I had met in New York City, her husband had killed her and then took his own life. Renee, who Tarifa connected me to, then introduced me to Craig. Craig was the gentleman I told you months later I ended up having coffee with at the Hole. And he's the one that asked me, what is my word? And I'm telling you, all of that was not by accident. It was all for the purpose of why I am here today and why I'm with you and sharing it, because it's all about connection. It's all about relationships. It's about opportunity. And then I get connected with Danny, and then we have this connection. And so, you know what I'm saying? It's a springboard. It's a springboard. It's a springboard. And when you put yourself in the room, things happen. When you put yourself in the room, things happen. And so all of that, I say all of that because it wasn't by accident that I met Tarifa, who introduced me to Renee, who introduced me to Angie, who introduced me to Craig, who introduced me to so many people last year in 2024 that have opened up just opportunities for me to share my message, but to share my book. And so be authentic. And for the others that are listening, whatever it is that you're going through right now, hopefully something sparked and connected with you today. Are there any other questions, statements, comments, anything that I can respond to, or maybe just you have something to say?
It looks like the room is silent. Cool.
It's all good.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for taking the stage and telling us all about your book. And I love how many things that you had said related to what I've been saying is everyone has a story to tell. Absolutely. And that everyone's story truly does matter. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity today. It's been fabulous. It's nice meeting all of you.
And so everybody, let's see. Next Tuesday, we are having, let me get there. We are having the lovely Hannah Olivias. So she's the one that is one of the founders of She Rises Studios. So she's a publishing company. I'm glad you made it too, Anita.
I'm glad you made it, Anita.
But yeah, she has a publishing company, and they also have like Phoenix TV. They have a podcast. They have loads of stuff that they're doing, and awesome. I'm really excited to hear what she has to say and how much it's going to help you guys. Oh, and everybody, so I have been working on my new community. It is like the level up, the next step from what I'm already offering. So of course it's a paid community, but you're going to get a lot more hands-on help from me. I'm going to go more in depth with self-publishing, and I'm also going to give you some master classes, like with 3-act structure masterclass, and then a self-publishing masterclass, along with a mind-body approach, like what I took when I wrote my book. So just so you guys have that in store, and it's limited spots because I only have so many hands and so much time, so I can't do it for hundreds and hundreds of people.
That's awesome, Danny.
Yeah, thank you. But it seems that we are probably good to go. Thank you again, Russell.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to hear your story and everything.
Thank you for the opportunity, Danny. Nice to meet all of you. Thank you for your questions, comments. It was a beautiful time.
Thank you very much again.
Thanks, Adita. Appreciate it. All right. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.